Vessel Rena departed from Napier on October 4 at 10:20 hours, and sailed for Tauranga, New Zealand. ETA Tauranga was given by the master as 0230 hours local time on October 5, based on a speed of 17 knots. The master modified the vessel's planned passage on the chart to shorten the distance around Mahia Peninsula to make the given ETA. At 1200 hours on October 4, when the second mate took over the bridge watch, the master told the second mate he can proceed on the inshore side of the course lines plotted on the chart around Mahia Peninsula. Currents were known to flow generally in a southward direction in the area. However, the master did not tell him how far from the planned course he could deviate. The Rena rounded Mahia Peninsula at about 1300 hours, and proceeded up the coast. The plotted positions were on inshore side of the course lines. At about 0001 hours on October 5, the second mate took over the watch again from the third mate. The second mate was supported by an able-bodied seaman. At about 0014 hours, the Rena's gyro heading was altered to about 264 degrees. The ground track at this time was about 262 degrees. The vessel was making 2 degrees to the south of the vessel's gyro because of the southward current. At 0015 hours, Tauranga Harbor Control called the Rena on VHF radio to discuss the vessel's ETA and pilot boarding time. The Rena gave her ETA at the pilot station as 0300 hours local time. Tauranga Harbor Control advised the Rena that 0300 hours was the end of the time window for pilotage, and also requested her to make her best speed for the pilot station. Tauranga Harbor Radio called the Rena again at 0059 hours to confirm her ETA as 0300 hours local time. Positions were plotted on the chart at 0100 hours, and again at 0120 hours. These positions were taken from the GPS, plotted by the able-bodied seaman, and then checked by the second mate. The 0100 hours position was marked on chart NZ54, and the 0120 hours position was marked on the larger scale chart NZ541. Neither of the positions was marked on both charts. In other words, no position was transferred from one chart to the other when changing charts. The Rena's gyro heading was 266 degrees at that time, and the ground track was about 264 degrees, indicating the Rena was making about 2 degrees to the south of the gyro, heading towards Astrolabe Reef ahead. The master had marked and given a written instruction for the second mate to call him when the Rena reached a particular position on chart. At 0135 hours, the vessel reached the marked position, and the second mate called the master on the telephone. During the discussion, the second mate confirmed that the vessel would be at the pilot station by 0300 hours, and also discussed an alteration of course that would shorten the distance to the pilot station, to which the master agreed. The second mate had already begun to progressively make that alteration to course. The second mate's plan was to navigate closer to Astrolabe Reef. As per him, he had placed a mark on the chart about 1 nautical mile north of Astrolabe Reef, from which he would make the final course adjustment to the pilot station. The master later stated that the mark made on the chart, 1 nautical mile north of Astrolabe Reef, was put there after the grounding. As per the second mate, after the discussion with the master, he plotted a GPS position and marked this point with a prick using a drawing instrument. He did not mark this position in pencil on the chart. The pinprick mark on the chart was not immediately obvious to anyone other than him. At 0142 hours, the GPS position was plotted on the chart by the able-bodied seaman. At this time, the gyro heading was about 257 degrees, but the ground track was about 255 degrees, meaning the vessel was still making about 2 degrees southward towards astrolabe reef. At 0150 hours, the ground track averaged about 252 degrees. At this point, the Rena was heading directly to the astrolabe reef. The master arrived on the bridge at about 0152 hours. The master and the second mate had a discussion over the radar picture. At 0158 hours, the master removed the parallel index lines from the radar because he thought they were cluttering the radar screen. After this, the master and the second mate then moved into the chart room behind the wheelhouse to discuss the arrival preparations for the port. While they were having this discussion, the able-bodied seaman came into the chart room to plot the vessel's 0200 hours position. The able-bodied seaman read the position off the GPS and recorded it in the GPS logbook. The master and second mate were leaning over the chart as they talked, so, rather than interrupt them, the able-bodied seaman did not plot the 0200 hours position on the chart. The 0200 hours position was plotted after the grounding and was plotted in a position further north than the Rena's actual position at the time. The position written in the GPS logbook by the able-bodied seaman was amended to match the 0200 hour position later plotted on the chart. The master then went into the wheelhouse to become familiar with the situation and monitor the radar. At about 0205 hours, the master noticed an intermittent echo on the radar. The echo was about 2.6 nautical miles dead ahead of the Rena. The master showed the echo on the radar to the able-bodied seaman, and they used binoculars to look for the cause of the echo. When they could not see anything, even from bridge wing, master decided to plot the vessel's position on the chart. So, he began to walk through the wheelhouse to the chart room. At 0214 hours, as the master made his way to the chart room, the Rena struck astrolabe reef while traveling at a speed of 17 knots. The hull was severely damaged during the initial grounding. The hull girder structure subsequently failed, leading to the vessel breaking in two pieces. The aft section moved off the reef and partially sank. This accident has come to be described as New Zealand's worst maritime environmental disaster. Approximately 400 tons of heavy fuel oil was spilled into the sea. New Zealand's government estimated the cost of the cleanup about $108 million. Succumbing to commercial pressure from charterers, rather than preferring navigational safety, and hence, taking a shortcut to meet a deadline to reach port. Sailing closer to the coast, in strong current, than planned route, in order to save time. Inaccurate assessment of navigational hazards. Unauthorized deviation from the passage plan. Poor radar observation. Lack of safe speed. And, most unlawfully, an effort by ship's crew to falsify documents and change ship's position on chart after the incident. Power distance. The able-bodied seaman could not request master and second mate to shift from the chart to plot 0200 hours position on it